Well, hi and welcome to my PC build. I have to say that I'm not a computer expert or a computer technician. I'm simply a computer enthusiast. So I've had to learn about building computers and what I need to have my editing programs work flawlessly. So Photoshop and Premiere Pro, and that's all to do with photographing and filming of wildlife. So I went on a quest to try and find out what I would need for that. So that was 12 years ago. The only advice that I got was from a few different stores that I went, computer stores that I went to. They were saying that a gaming computer was what I needed, that they didn't know really what you needed for being a creator, so editing footage and things like that. They had no idea. All they knew was gaming computers and what you needed for your office. So it was terribly frustrating at that stage, but I had to go with what they were saying because I knew nothing about computers. So I bought one off a local guy that he thought would be good for me, and it turned out to be the wrong choice. Terrible wrong choice. And all this happened to a lot of other people too. Social media that we had at that stage, there was this stuff everywhere. Why is my computer crashing? What's causing it? And no one had the answer at that stage. Well, fast forward 2 years, finally a guy put a video out on YouTube. He was a film editor and he had the answers that we all needed. So that was awesome. We finally get to find out what we needed and why we were having so many hassles with our computers not doing the job for us. So what did I learn from that guy off YouTube who showed me how to build this computer? Well, I learned that to run our programs flawlessly, we need a very top-end CPU. Don't have to spend an absolute fortune. There are budget level ones, which is what this was, but it was at the high end. It's a 6-core processor, and to feed that high-end chip, we need lots of RAM, and that was a problem with my other computer. It only had 4 gigs of RAM, and yeah, that was one of the biggest problems with it. We need 32 gigs of RAM. Now, this was designed at the time for full HD. There was no 4K at that time. It came out a couple of years later. But once I bought a 4K camera, it seemed to be future-proofed. I wasn't having much dramas at all, especially in Premiere Pro, about it's slowing it up or anything. Now, to go with that, we need a good graphics card that's going to render. So when we finish our project and we render it out to whatever codec we want it to go to is, we need a good GPU to help out in that department. So this is a 4 gig card, and it worked really well up until now, which we'll talk about with this one in a minute. So that's basically sort of what we're after. We want a motherboard that's going to work well with all these things, have good connections outside USB 3 ports so that we get a reasonably fast data transfer. One of the things that we had to put our programs onto so that it run really fast is an SSD. But back then, SSDs were very expensive, like $10 a gigabyte, and the biggest one you could get was 1 terabyte, but they were terrible with their lifespan. So you could only use 20% of their storage space per day for 5 years. So 200 megabytes a day I could use for 5 years before it'd die according to their warranty. I was going through them 2 to 3 years. I was hammering it because I'm doing 4 and 5 and 600 gigabytes a day. So putting out a lot of YouTube videos, yeah, I killed them. So it wasn't the thing to do to have any more than one for your programs. Just too expensive to put your videos, so downloading my projects onto a hard drive is what I had to do. That for archiving and those sort of things very cheap, long lifespans. They didn't make things all that fast in Premiere Pro, so they worked reasonably well. But yeah, they were certainly a bottleneck because I could look on the Taskmaster on Windows and I could see whether there was any hassles with anything, and definitely that was one of the biggest issues, was the hard drives. But just too expensive. That's our workflow, and that's the way it had to be. And we'll move on now to this beast here, and you'll be surprised at how much it cost me compared with this one. I have a Be Quiet case. Again, I'm going to put everything up there. I'll just breeze through as quick as I can. So I bought this case because it has a tray for the water cooling to make it easier to be able to set things up. Chip of choice was the Ryzen 9. It's just one I've been looking at for a long time. Now, because I've learned a lot of this build, and also as we've gone through the years, more and more people started talking about computers for creators. I just kept learning all the time, so I end up becoming a bit of a tech nerd. So this PC I have built myself entirely. My choice of all these different components. Because there's so much out there now, you see all the benchmarks on different things, different components, and yeah, I've made my own choices with these. Now that is double what we have here. That is a 12 core, very high end, and it's bloody brilliant on this. I've been running it for 4 days and I'm having a ball. Now to feed that beautiful chip, we need a lot more RAM with my R5C. So I've gone for this one here, 64 gigs of RAM we're at now, so we've doubled again. The motherboard is designed for creators. Now this is a couple of years old now and it's been superseded, especially a new one this year. Learning over the years about this and them, I didn't see it necessary for me to spend a hell of a lot more money on a motherboard that's going to work for me beautifully into the future anyway. And the graphics card, we have certainly upped the game with the graphics card as well. It's a 12 gig. If I wanted to use 8K footage, this was going to help me the best. So yeah, I have done well with my choices. Water cooler is a Be Quiet one as well. So I love the Be Quiet fans because they are reasonably quiet. Now my workflow with SSDs has changed a lot. We've done it professionally this time. Not like this one where we were stuck because of dollars. So we have M.2s. So this motherboard has 2 slots. I went for this brand because they have amazing lifespan. So 1 terabyte, so that's 900 gigabytes I can use each day for the next 5 years. And I've never used that, so this is not going to be taxed. It's never going to reach that limit. It's going to do it easy for what I use, so up to say 400, 500, 600 megabytes a day. And it's going to last a long time. It might even last that 5 years. And to continue with this beautiful workflow where we don't have any bottlenecks, I bought the same M.2 SSD drive, but a 2 terabyte one. That's for my programs, I should have said. All my programs are on there. And all the footage that I download to make my latest YouTube video or for anything else that I'm going to be editing, it all comes into this. So once I've made my project and it's finished, I'll then transfer all the footage and the photographs off here and put them into hard drives. so that they're archived. So yeah, once we've finished, we take them off here, keep it clean. But I've also got Premiere Pro saves on there as well. So it can run smoothly when it wants to bring in all the data for that particular project. It'll all be on here, so that works beautifully. So we now have a very powerful computer that's just working flawlessly and just amazing. Because I want to keep working with CS6 Premiere Pro, it's too expensive for me to rent the latest version at $900 with all the other bits that I've got to go with that, so Photoshop and other applications. Yeah, that's just too expensive. I will have to go over to DaVinci Resolve eventually, but just for now, I want to keep going with what I've got. So that meant I had to clone the SSD onto my M.2 driver. So that's always going to create some problems with all the programs that you have, because most of them have a coding that they put on when you put them onto a certain motherboard, because they don't want you copying it over to your mates. So they put that in there to stop you from doing that. So of course, once I built the computer and got it going, Windows was saying that we don't recognise this board, you're going to have to re-register your product. I had no issues with Windows 10. The only one I had a problem with was DxO Lab. So I'm going to have to contact them and get another code because it won't accept the one that I have. Now the only issue I had with Premiere Pro was the graphics card. It wouldn't acknowledge that it's there. And that was the case with this one as well. Now there's a hack that I learnt with this one, because it wouldn't accept my card, because Premiere Pro has a file that's in the command files that has a list of approved graphics cards for that application. You copy that file, take it out of that application, so out of the command files, put it into a folder, then copy one of the graphics cards, because we need to copy it exactly. We need the fonts to be exactly as the rest of them are, otherwise it won't work. So I did that, and all you got to do is just change what it is, and we keep those fonts. Then you put that back into the folder, and it'll tell you, do you want to swap the one that's in there? And just say yes, and it all works beautifully. I did that with this one, but unfortunately it didn't work. I was scratching my head, couldn't work out. You know, I'd done it the same as what's there. I haven't changed the fonts or anything. No one had the answer for me online, so I slept on it. And in the morning, yeah, the light bulb moment, I thought, maybe the computer doesn't see it as what I've put down. Maybe it sees it as a different name. So I went and had a look, and sure enough, I needed to put Nevada at the start, all in capital letters. We did that, and voila, we're working. My 10-year-old computer has certainly served me well over the years. Not knowing about 4K coming and then buying a camera and using it, yeah, just amazing to see that it was reasonably well future-proofed, even though the way it's configured is not a professional sort of level. It really has served me well up until now. Now it cost me $2,500 to build it, looking for bargains all the time, so it took a little bit of time to be able to get all the components at the price that I could afford. A very tight budget back then. I had a quote before I decided to go ahead and build it myself, and they were going to charge me nearly $4,000. So yeah, being good with my hands, being able to build things, I thought, let's give it a go, and it's proven to be the right thing to do. Now the big reason why I've decided to upgrade was I bought the Canon R5C. So we're now 45 megapixels in Photoshop. That's been playing up. I couldn't save the projects. I could save it as a JPEG, but not as a Photoshop format. It just couldn't do it once you started putting quite a few things on there. So that forced me to go out and build this beast. Now I sold my Canon R6, so this is the R6 now. Yeah, use that money to be able to build it. And it cost me $2,140. I did take the power supply out of here because it was only nearly 3 years old. So I thought that was, best thing to do, keep the budget low. They're just amazing that I've kept it under the price of this. Even if I'd have bought that power supply, it still would have been under the price of this. A build that was made 10 years ago is dearer than the modern stuff. I just amazed. Every time I bought something, I thought, wow, that's cheaper than I was expecting. Always looking for a bargain though. Everything in here was a little bit of a saving here and there. Let's talk about the differences between the two with download speeds from the Canon R5C. This little beast here, downloading photographs and footage all at the same time, and it's done this right throughout its life anyway, was 75 megabytes per second. So very slow, but this one, I was quite amazed. I wasn't expecting this much. 780 megabytes per second download speed. Wow. Fantastic. With this one, I'd just get the download going and then I'd go and make myself a cuppa or do something while it's doing that. But with this, so fast. Yeah, just amazing. And I'm so glad that I built it and everything's worked out really well. So in Photoshop, we are now do whatever I like in there. Those big files don't make any difference to it. It just does it. Premiere Pro, from what I'm seeing so far, and that's making this video. This is the first time that I've made a project with this computer. So we're learning as we're going along. I have to see just how good it is when I actually go to render it out for YouTube. I think the biggest thing that I've noticed though in Premiere Pro is putting effects on. I'm putting a lot of stuff on and not having any issues. Testing it out, doing more than I needed to. And I'm not seeing anything just yet. With this, if I put too much on, I'd start getting the red bar. And when you get a red bar on the top of your project, that means you have to render if you want it to play back properly. So I haven't seen that yet, and hopefully we don't. But yes, just loving it so far. So speedy, just snappy. Everything's snappy. While we're talking along here, I'll show you how quick this computer is at opening Premiere Pro and then the project, opening that up as well, loading everything up. 12 seconds with this particular project so far. Just, yeah, fantastic. Now we'll finish up here, but I'll just say before I go, this could be my next YouTube video. The Rode video mic. Yeah, Breeze, I'd really like the Breeze to come up so we can test that. But looking at how I've got the volume set at the minute, been looking at it for a while and I thought it was time that we get something nice for the R5C to have on top of the camera when I don't need it up close to my subjects. So this should be a good investment, and I've been doing a little bit of testing this morning before I finish up here. So that's what we'll do, we'll finish up here. I hope you enjoyed this video, got something out of it, and if you'd like to subscribe to my channel and get more of this amazing stuff, click on my pretty little face just down in the bottom right hand corner of the screen. Hit the little bell, you'll get notification whenever I do anything else. And if you want to go and have a look at all the other mad and crazy things I've been doing in the past, click on my icon right here at the end of this video, take it to my channel. I talk about photographing and filming in the forest and open forest environments, birds in flight, all those sort of things to do with filming wildlife, especially my passion, anti-kindness. And when I go on adventures, I always take you with me. And when I buy cameras and camera equipment, I do reviews on them and give you my honest opinion on them. Go and have a browse. There'll be something of interest to you there, I am sure. And just remember, if you don't do, you don't get. So get out there and start photographing and filming wildlife, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.